Welcome back, mere mortals, to another edition of the Musings. I'm Juan.
I'm Karen over here.
And we're the mere mortals. Now, today in Musings, we normally look back at the week that was, learning, thoughts that we wanted to be talking about, interesting things that have piqued our interest that we wanted to share with ourselves, with the other mere mortals.
Praise.
So today I want to be talking about Gary Vee's latest NFT, VeeCon, Vee Family, Vee Friends, some good stuff. I'm very interested. I want to discuss some stuff and get your thoughts on what the future possibilities that is. Some comparisons with professional squiggles and the importance of sleep and the position of your sleep.
Okay, nice. Quite a few things there. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about my rest of the learnings that I took from the Vinaya Pitaka. You remember the funny, funny monkey sex monk debacle that we had a week or two ago?
Yep.
And I also want to talk about doing a full 180 on a topic, so switching your beliefs.
Full 180 on the topic.
How that might have happened in our lives and what to make of it.
Okay, good. I'm going to start mine off because I want to talk about the Vee Family, the VeeCon, all this sort of stuff, because it came out very recent as well. So it's, for the folks who have listened to us talk about cryptocurrency, this is not crypto. This is actually not, I'm not talking about crypto. This is like using crypto to buy things. But there's some concepts to it. So let's see if I can explain it fully. So Gary's been touting this, Gary Vee, go look him up if you don't know who he is. He's been touting that he's going to be releasing his own NFT art, basically, right? But he's going to be doing it with a little bit of a spin, a little bit of a twist, and he's going to give back to the community. Now, I thought originally that he was going to just create, he was doing like some drawings and doodles, and it was like the calm tiger, the strong antler, stuff like that, right? And I was like, okay, this is going to be pretty cool. I think I'd like to purchase one. I think it'd be kind of like buying a playing card, but a digital one, kind of like NBA tops that exist as well in the NFT world. I thought, okay, these sort of nifties, they're going to be pretty cool. People want them. Maybe I can buy it for an Ethereum or 2 Ethereum, and maybe it'd be invested. I can resell it for double that or triple that, right? So that was the idea until he released it, right? And so he released it, but he had technical trouble in actually getting it so you could actually purchase it, which is good because with the parabolic rise in Ethereum, I haven't been able to buy a single one. So I've been like $300. I'll wait until it gets to 2.5, gets to 3.5. Now I'm 3.5. I'll wait until it gets $3,000, $4,000. I'll wait until it gets to the $3,000, $5,000. I'm like, God damn, am I even going to buy this? So regardless of that though, he has created, and I don't know if this already exists otherwise, so if it does, for the people who know about nifties, NFTs, good on you, thank you, whatever. There's one information. But so his is a nifty with a smart contract behind it, which means so he's basically, I'll give you a breakdown. He's got over 10,000, so like 10,600 odd NFTs to give away.
Yeah, so what are they? He hasn't done that many drawings, has he?
So he's drawn, I believe it's 20 different drawings. And each one of those drawings are going to have different backing. So imagine his drawing, he's moved that into a digital format, and he's made them into like cards. And each card, like, there's lots of in diamonds or gold or bubble gum. And then it's in different, some have just like white backgrounds, right? So, okay, cool. But the very basic level, what do they get you? So it's a white thing with, I think it's like a fly or something like that. I think this is the picture. So the very basic one. What does they give you? Well, you purchase it and cool, you own that collector's item. But you also get the smart contract that goes behind it, which is Gary wants to throw a conference. Kind of like a conference that you'd imagine maybe a Tony Robbins to do with his Day with Destiny and a couple of others. Imagine that. But he wants to do 3 over the next 3 years, so 2022, 23, 24. And only if you have one of those NFTs can you attend. That's basically your ticket to go in. And that's the basic thing that all of those icons will get you, and those NFTs will give you. So there's, I think it's like 600 or maybe even more, like a couple of thousand. No, I think it's actually even more, like 9,000 of them. I just got called Access NFTs. So if you buy one, you might buy it for 1 or 2 Ethereum. You get the collector's item, but there's a smart contract so that you can go to these digital events. But it also holds so that you can also give them away to other people, right? So you can resell them if you want to, and that other person gets a new contract. But say you go to the 2022 event, it can get digitally sort of crossed off on the blockchain, and then you can give it off to someone else if they really want it, right? So it's got like that sort of tradability. But as it goes up in the rarity levels, some of them are like, you get 90-minute dinner with Gary Vee. You can go courtside with Gary Vee if you have this token. You get to spend 40 hours for 1 week with Gary and his whole team to talk through like your ideas, what you want to do, etc. There's 555 GOAT gift tokens.
And so those are are they just one-off uses? So
some
like,
of them are like one-off uses, correct. But then once you use it, you still keep it, right? So he gave a couple of comparisons if it seems a bit weird. But, in the essence, he's given all these things. And it seems to me like the variety was like, some of them are going to be sold for 1 Ethereum. Some of these really bigger ones are like 10, 20 Ethereum. And it's going to be done in a Dutch auction. So it's going to start at a particular top and just quickly go down to a bottom level, right? The smartness of it all, though, I thought, okay, that to me, I was like, that's really cool. That sort of digitally smart contracts in NFTs. And I thought, oh, man, there would be a lot of cool stuff that you could do with this. So I wanted to pose a question like, could you imagine other users for something like that? Like, imagine a mere mortal NFT that could have a smart contract behind it. So let's say we say, okay, we're going to host like the big mere mortal brekkie in Brisbane. We're going to create 10 of these tokens. If you get it on the blockchain, then we will give you, like you come, all expenses paid to have a breakfast for that sort of thing. Because I calculated back so think about that. But just to give you another thought of this on the Gary Vee front. So I thought, okay, let me run some calculations. And based on this particular program of work, right? And if he was able to sell all of them, all the Ethereums.
There you go, mate.
Yeah, right.
Oh, he's right in. I love it. So if he was able to go and sell all of those, he would be making between 40 to 100 mil purely on just all those exchanges being sold.
That's
and then a lot of man.
Tons of money.
And then the resale on that, he has 10% of the actual resale value that he gets to keep as well, all of them that actually get resold.
Yeah.
So it's pretty, I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So I was like, I like that. What are your thoughts behind, could you see smart contracts like that being able to be used in other ways?
Yeah, okay.
And we've just had an intruder come in. I actually allowed him to come in then because he kind of asked, he was like, oh, can I jump in behind?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you can jump in behind. But it was going to stay too long. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a proper bombing.
Surprise. Proper bombing.
Bombing. I was just thinking, man, like, goddamn, Ticketek and Eventbrite and things like that. That sounds like a scary news for them in terms of being able to ticket people in that way, which, maybe on a large scale might be a bit more difficult, but yeah, dude, that sounds really cool. Other ways that you can use that, I'd have to think about that for a while.
Well, where I originally was thinking in the past was like, oh, this would one day have to replace the way that sales of property is done, like 100%, because imagine just having smart contracts on an immutable blockchain where you just literally get rid of all contracts paper-wise, and you just go, okay, well, look, you purchase essentially like the picture of your house or the digital version of it, and you own that outright as like that's the asset, and you own the real world asset with a smart digital contract backing that. So it could be that extent, but yeah, I was thinking, things like Ticketek, things like other places where you go for an experience. Oh, amazing. And one thing so I listened to a Gary Vee podcast just recently, and he said this, and as soon as he said it, I was like, oh, this makes so much goddamn sense. It's going to take a long time. And he was like, oh, he hopes he's alive for this. So he's like, because he's big also on virtual reality. And he was like, look, there's going to have to be a time when you can see these two things merging together. Because imagine right now where you buy yourself a skin on a game for $50, right? Or there's adults, like there's parents right now giving $50. Oh, that's a you give your parents give you $50 for a kid to go buy a skin, and that skin's used, for on the game, right? But he was like, oh, imagine all the way, like 40 years in the future, you've got this combination of NFT equivalent with digital contracts with virtual reality, where you could be like, oh, you're in a virtual reality world, and you want to go, oh, I want to buy this extra tree for my virtual reality house. Then you could buy what could be considered NFT for that with a digital contract that goes, oh, well, that's going to be in this particular digital context, and it's you who owns it, and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, dang. That's really cool. But yeah, the idea that Gary's come out now, if any other people have heard about those smart contracts, I would love to hear the other ways that they've used it so far. Because I thought when I heard this, I was like, I went from looking at it in a state of, it's going to cost this or whatever. I went, dang, I just wish I had some Ethereum right now so I could just purchase one of these things when they come out. They haven't, because he's delayed them by a week and a bit because of technical problems. And I was like, I just want to be in it to see what sort of these smart contracts look like.
I was just thinking, so with art, for example, there's like the most my brain can handle in terms of what what an NFT actually is. And so for me, I'm just replacing it as art, as an industry.
Yep.
Imagine, right, that you could create an NFT of yourself. And
Ooh.
this might actually solve a couple of problems related to privacy.
Yeah.
So, for example, we've just got these cameras rolling here in Brisbane. If someone walked in the background, and there's been plenty of people in the background,
yeah.
if they ever found out, they could maybe have some issues with being filmed.
Yes.
But then there is a sort of, there are laws in place where it's like, if you're in a public place, you can sort of be expected to have your photo taken, your video taken, and so you can't, just because a multi-million-dollar company is, filming a movie and you happen to randomly be in one of the crowds in the background or like in a tiny little window up in the top right corner, and if you zoom in, you see them. It's not reasonable for them to cut that out. But I was thinking, like, maybe if you have an NFT of yourself, and then you could consider yourself like a piece of art, you could then be like, you are infringing on my copyright. Any photo that you're in, you could like make a claim saying, hey,
you owe me money for it.
Yeah, I'm part of this. I would like compensation, or I would like it, you're using my copyright, I want you to take this down. Which would actually be like interesting in terms of what would you then be allowed to,
do this sort of stuff?
Yeah,
like you'll be completely blocked off. Yeah. Like, look, we're getting a bombshell now of a bin chicken. There's a bin chicken. I'll let you just go through this so I can actually see a little bit too. Maybe gives you an imagery of what they look like as well. But yeah, man, I just thought, and there's I think there's 5 like very, very limited ones. So there's basically like 5 where you get to meet him. There's only one of them that exists, and already people are saying like, oh, they're going to spend like 20 Ethereum now. The equivalent for you, for in Australia, 20 Ethereum is $100,000. And this is the sort of stuff that I'm like, oh, wow, this is where I could see with smart contracts and what you could do with them. Man, that would be things I'd be like, that could be like moon power type of shit. And he spoke as well, Gary Vee spoke about it with Bankley, I think the podcast was called, something like that. And he was saying like, oh, he can't wait to, go and do similar things with like a Post Malone. So he'll go to Post Malone, look, I've set up this, let me help you set it up. And basically, he'll offer 100 where people get to spend time with Post Malone or something like that. And people will pay some really true big money to go and do that for those sort of experiences. And I thought that could be like the next evolution of like Red Balloon or experiences. It could be done purely digitally, where the artist or the person who's famous or whatever it may be, they get recurring revenue of these things being exchanged and traded, plus they give up that once in a lifetime opportunity or whatever to some people. So I was like, man, I started blowing my mind. I was like, oh man, this is like the one time I was like, okay, now I see it. Like now I'm properly seeing it. So.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then I was gonna say, like, in comparison, because I took a note, I found, so when I hear of NFTs, I found another NFT, and it's called the Professional Squiggle NFT, and it's basically just this like little squiggle like this, 10 Ethereum to buy it. 10 Ethereum to buy that. Son. So look for the good NFTs, folks, not the shitty NFTs.
Well, I mean, it's just like
nothing.
It's just like art.
It's just
right?
like art. There's like what makes me think is like it's like buying the Mona Lisa, and the Mona Lisa gives you a blowjob. Like it's like it gives you a smart contract. Like it gives you something smart. Like how amazing is this? Fantastic. That
should have been your meme of the moment, man. I might even change mine to that. That's pretty good. All right, so just onto the nuns and the Buddhism and my reading of that. So I did the skim through. So you remember you asked me like, are you getting any value from this? And I said, well, it's kind of funny, but not really.
Not really. Yep.
So I did a skim through. I was lying about wasn't lying. I was incorrect about the page count. My Kindle had a very large page count, but the actual page count of like a physical book for this section, I think would have been in like the 600 pages, not like the 10,000.
Oh, okay.
But I think the sort of 10,000 or 20,000 pages is for
the full,
or like all of the Tripitaka, all of the Pali Canon, all of the sutras, all of that stuff. Yep. Anywho, so I found out there's, yes, there is not that much in there for me to take out in terms of reading, in terms of, this could be useful for my day-to-day. So this is just for the Vinaya, which is the rules for the monks, for the scholastics.
Pitaka?
And I found some of the things for the nuns as well. Man, just as horny as the monks. Just as horny.
Damn.
They have so many rules of what they are and aren't allowed to do. For example, if they're cleaning themselves, cleaning their vagina, they're only allowed to go 1 knuckle deep.
1 knuckle deep.
Very specific on that.
Okay.
They are also, there's just plenty of things related to sex that they're not allowed to do. But then it gets into like, the chauvinistic stuff. Like, they're definitely not allowed to, like, in the same room as a man. They're definitely not allowed to sort of speak back to a man. They're definitely not allowed to do all of these things. The funniest one, though, funniest story I gained from that was there's a couple of nuns. They're in their little compound. One of them has a chamber pot, and she throws her excrement over the wall without looking. And this OG gangster monk is walking out, and it's very specific. He'd washed and cleaned his head just beforehand, sparkling clean. Yeah. Shiny head, and he's walking around with this shiny clean head, feeling like a top dog, feeling like the man. And then what happens? Boom, excrement on his head. He's not happy. And
who would be? You got basically God looking at the mirror that is that dude's bald head.
Exactly.
And then excrement gets
exactly. And so his the beautiful insult that he took from this, these bloody shaven-headed strumpets were fucking, and he was getting angry about these shaven-headed strumpets, and I just thought that was bloody hilarious. So yeah, not that much to be gained from that. I'll still, I think, try and read some of the other works, but I think I'm gonna experience the same thing, which is like the texts just are not compatible with our day-to-day lives right now. There's just so much in that. Gone. If you get triggered easily, do not read this stuff, because you're gonna have a bad time, and it's just useless, man. Like they're talking about so many specific stories of this specific monk doing this specific thing, and it's just like, this is fucking boring, man. This is really boring. I don't care.
That's...
Now, look, I didn't grow up in a Buddhist context. I don't have all that heritage attached to it, but
of putting 1 knuckle or 2 knuckles deep. Yeah. Gotta have the context.
In terms of like, people saying, Christians say this all the time, this is the literal word of God. This is what God says. How can you argue with this? Yep. That's when I have troubles, because it's like, okay, God also says a lot of fucking bullshit, and there's just a lot of bullshit in there. So anyway, onto my main one though. So, I should have worn my Roosh V shirt. So Roosh V was influential for young Kyron, very helpful. He was a former pickup artist who also traveler. So he's actually the one who inspired me to travel South America. He was also the one who gave me some very helpful tips on how to get over my social anxiety and go out there, start talking to girls. Now, he did a full 180, I would say, is the best way. And I was reading I go onto his blog every now and then. This is probably like the first time in 6 months.
So you'd gone in there, yep.
I went in there, and he's had a full conversion. So he's
full conversion.
He's renounced all of his philandering ways as a pickup artist. He views that time as disdainful, as he was being tempted by Satan, and he's basically converted to
Christianity.
I guess you'd say a born again Christian.
I
think that's the term for people who have these sort of revelations. Now, this revelation came through, for him, quite traumatic circumstances. The death of his sister through cancer, which was like a horribly drawn out process. And then he also took psychedelics, and that was when he had like this holy shit meeting God moment.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, what it got me think about though, and so he's like full deep, and so what triggered my thoughts here was he used to be a microbiologist, so he would have definitely been deep into the science world. And one of the things I liked about him while reading him back in the past was he was very scientific. Like the way he'd set things out was very, hot and cold, right and wrong. Like this is, if you do this many approaches, you can probably expect this. If you say these sort of things, these actions will occur from this. Like very logical, very like, oh, I get this. It's not, be confident in yourself and that sort of, wishy-washy advice. Now, he's full young Earth creationist as well. So he was going over this stuff, and he's like, I don't think the Earth can be more than 10,000 years old. So he sort of renounced, I guess, the science aspect of this, which was, I would have said, holy shit.
He's got 180 on science.
A full 180, man. Damn. He's done a full 180 on a lot of things.
Life.
So it got me thinking, though, Have
Come
you
back
ever
to
known anyone to do a full 180 on a particular topic? So someone who's just completely changed their life around in terms of they used to do this thing and then now it's like, no, that thing is bad.
Maybe not another individual, although I'll think it through in my mind, but I can recall something of myself that in part I did a 180 on, like full 180.
That was going to be my second question.
Yeah. So, okay, well, maybe I'll stick to the first one first. Someone else that I've seen do a 180? No, do you have someone in your mind?
Yeah, for me, someone that I particularly know, like, I guess, my dad, you could have said back when he was a teenager, he was in a religion, in the Seventh-day Adventist, and he would have believed that, and then there was through a gradual process.
Yep.
Doesn't believe that anymore. But it wasn't a full 180 in terms of like, one day I'm this and one day I'm not that. For him, it was probably over a decade of leaving. But yeah, for people, I think it's hard. Yeah, it's hard for me to point out someone who's done something as quickly as Roosh has, for example.
Which took a bit quick.
I remember reading the blog, and then I remember, I was already not reading it that often, but I'd check in maybe once a week, and then just over a period of time, it was pretty quickly within, I'd say, like 6 months. He was like fully renounced everything he'd done for the past 10 years. And I think
the true thing is, like, you got to know someone long enough to have seen as well, because you're saying, when you sometimes pulls a 180, it's not like so immediate, maybe not even like within days, it's years. So unless you know someone for a really long time and they've done the 180, that's when you can say like, oh, that person did a 180. If not, it's like, oh, okay, well, you're only seeing one part of it, like either the beginning or the end. You don't really see if they did a 180 or not. So, but like personally, I could see.
Yeah. So my question: what was the thing you deeply held to be true but switched your mind on?
Yeah. So I wouldn't. I guess say deeply held. So because
or believed to be true.
Yeah, I think because my dad worked in a lot of tech, so computers and technology. I had a very deep belief both that I wasn't ever going to work at anything related to tech.
Okay.
And that, so I was like, nope. There's both.
Because it didn't interest you?
Yeah, it was kind of like, I think it was along the lines of like, oh, my dad's already doing it. Nah, I don't want to do that. Also, I was like, why do you need to know tech? Why do you need to know tech? And even further, I was like, oh, what? It's not even going to help you out. So I remember when I was doing engineering, and I remember in third year, we were using some programs to do a lot of the simulations for a lot of the stuff we were creating and building. And even I remember them going like, why would I even do this? Like, I know the foundations of like the physics and the principles behind engineering. Like, no, that's all you need to know. I don't need to know the tech, blah, 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 blah. So it was really quite recent until I started working a little bit into the tech world. Less because I knew that it was a tech world, more because someone was like, oh, this is about project management and a couple of other things. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then slowly transition into it. Where now, today, I look at it, I'm like, man, if you don't know tech, and if you're not working in tech or anything that's like sort of in the new frontier, then I got news for you. Like, you're going to get left behind so fast. But if I look back at 7 years ago, there's like my mind was completely 180 different. I was like, no, you don't need to know that. Like, that's going to get sorted out by somebody else. Nah, it's not much of a benefit. Yeah. So that would be my 180.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't say needing to know tech in the deepest term. Like, I've never learned any coding, for example. So if you showed me code, I don't even know how to use brackets.
But even then, I'm to the full belief that if you don't know how to code, there's going to come a point in time that you're gonna lose out.
I'm not so sure about that. So the other thing I was going to say was, even though I don't know that, I do appreciate just how beneficial it can be. So when I was in uni, for example, and using like a CAD program, and I was designing a pit shell for a mine, you could then go into Vulkan and through a couple of inputs create that whole thing, which took me hours and hours and hours to do
by hand.
by relative hand, clicking points and whatnot. You can do that in 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think there's no excuse for not using something that can be very, very beneficial and doesn't take too long to learn. Like, I don't need to know the intricacies of code to be able to use Vulkan or some of these programs. When would be an example you'd think I'd need to know code in like the next couple of years? For example?
Have a feeling that a digital wallet of the future, and again, sorry, there's a little bit of crypto, but I think the digital either a digital contract of the future or a digital wallet of the future, you're going to have to know some permutations of how code in itself works to some degree, and movement of your keys and stuff like that to go, oh, okay, I've got some comfort in this, and how, this movement or this input of code or this input of a string or whatever will eventuate to something else happening. So I think that it'll be whatever Web 3.0 looks like, it's going to look much more technologically involved, to the point that whatever we think is that now, there's probably a generation that's going to grow up into it thinking like, oh, that's normality, and so it will not be normal to us. To the point I'm saying, so I'm thinking 15-year-olds right now that have digital wallets and that, they're completely comfortable with the fact that you have to use tokens and your keys, and you have to actually, like, to create, say, a MetaMask onto your app and transfer things over. Like, you got to know a little bit of coding to do a lot of this shifting. Yep. And if they grow up with it and go, oh, that's normal, like, that's not going to be normal for us. And we're going to go, shit. Oh, shit. I don't know how to do this. So, like, it's going to go flash past you. Yeah, it could be. It starts to make me think of, back at, your family, a parent or an older relative who, looking into the way that maybe we create this. And actually, just before we started this podcast, I had someone who was walking around as an older gentleman, let's say 70 years old, and he asked me oh, that looks very hard. Is it very hard? And I was like, oh, no, it's really, really easy. Like, we've got microphones with cameras, we've got this. I was like, oh, okay, it just looks really hard. Yeah. And I have this feeling that we will look at the tech that's being used around in 30 years from now. And if you're not up to there with a lot of it, you're going to go, oh, shit. And it even amplified it even more. Last night, having a chat with Dad, we were talking about some Ethereum, cryptocurrency, blockchain stuff, and I could see he understood it and he kind of know what's going on. But even both me and him were I could see just how far out of touch we actually probably are with what's actually happening, and going, oh, okay, I can see it. I can see it. Yeah, for sure. All right, so I'll talk about mine. So I've got one which is comical and trivial. So Hermione. You know who Hermione is? Hermione is one of the main characters in Harry Potter series. It's not Hermione. It's Hermione. Now, I was... when I read the first book, I, in my head, read it as Hermione. And then for years later, I think I learnt that it was meant to be pronounced Hermione in probably when the first movie came out. So I was probably like 3 books deep by that time. Yeah. And... I just I fought it, man. I fought that so hard, and I eventually had to come around. Like, okay, I can't say Hermione. People think I'm a dumbass. Yeah. It was like taking too long to explain. I know it's meant to be Hermione, but I read it as Hermione, and that makes more sense. Yeah. So that was one. The other one though was, I think I pictured Ron Weasley as a black guy. Really? I don't know if I told you this. And then when I watched the movie, I was like, oh man, this dude's white. What the fuck? His orange hair? Like, you're imagining like just some black dude with I was freckles, totally orange hair. I'm pretty sure there's so many references to his like paisley white skin and things like that. But I don't know. I just imagine him to be black. To be fair though, I just read The Grapes of Wrath, and for pretty much the whole book, I thought that they were black, like the family was black, which explained some of the discrimination and stuff that was going on when they moved from Oklahoma into California. Sure, yep. But then I went, because I swear I remember this one bit where he's talking about like, and this is probably me just being super racist, but like his big lips and like the dark forehead brows and stuff like that. Okay. I think it was more like he was tanned rather than black. Okay. But I don't know, man. Just I was like, damn. That's just what you pictured them. Yeah. Totally like changes the story. It does. Yep. So my deep one though, I would say was, I think that back in the day, I used to be very certain that I was inherently a good person. That I would do the right thing if necessary. If I was in Nazi Germany, I would have been the one fighting the resistance. Yep. If I was put into this situation, no, I wouldn't do that. That's not something that I did. And then through a combination of, I suppose, learning about history, about me taking some own, unethical actions on myself, and knowing that they were unethical in the moment, knowing that I was only doing them because I could get away with it. Yep. And I think just like a little bit of time, all of those together just made me go, you know what? I'm not actually sure of that. I'm not actually sure that I am a good person, and that it's more by circumstance
and our culture, our laws, our whatever it is, my own like inherent personality, that is more of a driver of me doing the right things than me actually, on my own taking ethical actions. So that was a pretty big one for me. Yep. I would say the other one was that me being in control of my own thoughts as well. And this one was a bit of a weird one. This is actually why I sort of got away from Roosh even before he was in his whatchamacallit, in his like shift. his shift, or like because I first started following him for the pickup stuff, and then it started to turn like political, and I was like, not that into that, but I'll still hang around. And then it got into very strong like Republican right wing leaning sort of stuff, and then it did the full transition to Christianity. And anyway, I was on one of the forums there for a while, his forum, and I learned a lot of interesting, useful things from there. But I also I think there's a thing where if you're in a space of some sort and you just get enough input, even if you don't want it, like even if you don't believe it, just it hanging around your mind enough
is enough.
It can seep in. So there was quite a bit of prejudice against gays, Muslims, and liberals in particular on that forum. And I think that seeped into my own thinking for a while. There was like a while where I was, screw the gays, like, bloody doing all the ills in society are towards them. All the ills in society are towards these other things. Yep. So that eventually just got me thinking like, you know what? I'm not sure I control my own thoughts as much as I thought I did. I thought, I believe these things for X reason. This is rational. Similar thing. It's like a combination of time, combination of reading books like Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman. If you want a book to show you that you have no control, that one's a perfect one, and it's got examples in it that show you like, oh, you think you know this? Wrong.
You don't.
Yeah. So that was those are my ones right there. Any others that come to mind for you of things you've changed your mind on or done a 180?
Not that they're as huge in the space. Maybe the Sam Harris concepts of free will, I guess. That was a pretty quick 180, I guess. Cause I was talking about it, and I thought, nah, I can imagine free will, and then I really understood where it's coming from, like just like 180 directly in a 40-minute like audio listen, and I was like, dang, okay, I understand where it's coming from. Cool. Yeah. Support that completely. So there probably are some quick transitions like that down the path of life, but not that I can recall straight away.
Yeah, true.
But
very good.
Good.
All right. Do you want to?
I will
kick us off with your.
I'll do my meme moment. Where is it? Where is it?
All right,
there
I'll do mine.
Good. No, mine. Digital blending in with reality. Now that's got me excited. I should have gone with the Mona Lisa. Give me a blowy, but
I'll make that
digital blending.
One, maybe.
Digital blending in with reality. Now that's got me excited. When it just the thoughts of what Gary prompted in my mind of that digital side of things with smart contracts with reality. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. This is like the real interaction that I've not seen yet come up. Where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go all in, but it's like, okay, I could see people going all in and profiting greatly from this.
Yeah, for sure. All right, mine is never discount the effect of time and life's vagaries to change your mind. So I think one of the things now is I look at most situations that most people do, and I think, you know what, I can think of 3 or 4 things that if my life happened to me in my life, I would take the exact same decision. Now, whether that's a good thing, like being Mother Teresa, so say I had a couple of instances of a child dying in my arms while I could have done something to help. If I had a couple of instances of seeing truly selfless acts and my life was saved, maybe I could go down that path. And then also the opposite, like I could be the the drug addict under a bridge who's taken meth, who's self-destructive, if all of my family died in a car crash, if I lost everything, if I, accidentally killed someone and, it was manslaughter or something. But, all of those things, I think, I don't discount putting myself in those positions, saying, you know what, a couple of things happen and I could be there.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of the story of ordinary men, and just like, how few steps how many few actions or steps you are away from, whether it's like Jordan Peterson's side of like malevolence, manifesting itself, or just by virtue of the things that are happening for you to take those actions. And you could be almost like unknowing, it might be an unknowing thing to you until it starts happening. You're like, oh shit, I'm already at this point. I didn't even know how I got here. Yeah. But it was just a small set of actions that can happen, or big ones, and put you in a place.
That's it.
Nope. Good, folks. That's basically it for the musings today, for the learnings. That was good. I like the thoughts. I like the hearing that nuns also have their own rules and permutations.
I tell you, man, these bloody Asians are horny as shit. We got to keep them under lock and key.
Unbelievable. Now, folks, what did you enjoy most of today? Was it that conversation? Have I gotten you engaged to go and get some nifties perhaps, or something else? Look, what I can tell you, we have no nifties of our own. We have no NFTs.
Watch the space.
What you can do is at least go check out our content, digital content. Now, there's a contract that's involved there, which is you are going to get the maximum amount of enjoyment possible in a 1 hour period that you listen to it. That's it. That's the contract. That's the agreement. And if you...
That's bloody like an infinity pool of money, like easy money. Yeah, easy happiness, easy joy.
Happiness. Yeah, do you want to... Anything that's happening in your day, do you want to have easy happiness? Listen to the Mere Mortals. That's what it's all about. Of course, you're checking out the video. Make sure you're liking it. Make sure you're commenting. Make sure you're ringing the bell and subscribing. Mm-hmm. If you're listening to the audio and you're hearing my whispery, silky voice,
ASMR.
Then subscribe. You can't comment, but you can share with another mate. Share with someone else. Share with a friend. Your mum. Tell your mum, listen into this because you hate tech and you got to learn. You got to learn about nifties. Give me $50 so I can go buy a nifty. That's what you got to tell them. That's all from us now for today, folks.
Thank you, folks.
One out.
Karen out.
Hey,
who's that nifty?